Welcome back to Liz's Scrapping Studio. I am working on a layout utilizing the Gnomes for Spring collection. And the Gnomes for Spring is, again, a special that we're running. I believe everything is still available at the moment in time, and I'm going to be using the stickers and the papers from that collection. I'm also going to be using the irresistible alphabet. You can kind of see here where I've already started applying some ink to the irresistibles. And I'm going to use this alphabet as my title. I'm going to be using the decorative shapes thin cuts, the flowers here, the actual small flowers, the one that I'm using. So this one is unfortunately sold out, but you could use any flower. You don't need to use this one. You could use any flower in your stash for this, as long as it's a size that you like. I'm going to use the In Springtime set because I loved all of the various different icons and things on this. So this is going to be used. And then I think I might pull in the Your Smile set as well. This particular stamp set is for our Operation Smile project and partnership. And any 15, what was it? $7 of this set goes towards Operation Smile. And we're trying to close out that partnership really strong over these next 2 months. Sorry, over the next month. And so anytime you buy this stamp set, the proceeds go to Operation Smile. So I thought I would try to use that one. And then lastly, I might bring in these two stamp sets for the dots and swirls that are on here. Again, I'm going to play around a little bit with this and decide if that's the direction I want to go. And then you'll notice that I have a paper plate here, and this paper plate is going to serve as my circle. I'm going to use this as my guide to create a circle. This is going to be a one-page layout. I don't do those very often, but in this case, because I didn't have much paper left and I really wanted to use this plaid as a border, and I didn't have a second sheet, I'm going to make this as a one-page layout. And then I have a bunch of other two-page layouts that I've created, and I'll be able to get at least one more two-page layout out of this paper kit. All right, so with that, I'm going to get ready to start working on the background of this layout and start showing you some ideas on how you can create this layout. All right, so this is the dry run layout that I'm thinking about putting together. Now, I think as I go through and actually start working with this may change a little bit, but this is the one-page layout. And this is a Scraplift from Lori Symacks, who is another close to my heart maker, who created a page very, very similar to this, using actually some parts of the Gnomes for Spring, but also using other stamp sets and things. So I'm doing a little bit of a similar theme. But one of the differences is this piece here. And with this paper, it has these natural curves in the way that they've designed the words and how the words were rotating around on this sheet of paper. And I really wanted to play that up, and I really wanted to kind of highlight that curve versus what Lori put together. So I've already cut out that curve from the paper, and I've got a torn piece of this is limeade. No, this is limeade, yes. Paper. And then, as I said, I have used the In Springtime, and I've done a bunch of die cutting for the different shapes. And I've actually stamped in sapphire a number of these shapes as well. And the other thing that I did is I did use the patterned paper. So I just took some of the scraps of my patterned paper that I had, and I did cutouts of these various different shapes. So what I'm going to do now is I want to draw a circle. So you can see I've kind of laid it out, but I don't have any place for these die cuts to land. And I really want that to have, don't feel like, I don't want them to feel like they're floating out there. So what I'm going to do is take a picture of this so that I know kind of what I was thinking. And then what I'm going to do is put all these pieces aside, and we're going to come back and I'm going to draw this circle so that it can mirror the circle down here at the bottom. Okay, so I've taken all the pieces off and I have just left the this piece that I've already created. So this piece, as I said, I've cut out this half circle and I've actually inked it up with the limeade ink. And I've attached this torn piece of limeade. And I do have a little bit of a piece over here that doesn't actually, it went off the paper. So I'll just cover that up. And then this piece of cardstock, this white daisy cardstock, is 11 by 11. So that's the size that I'm working with here. So I'm going to place this down and I'm going to just try and make sure that I'm even on both sides and that I've got some space down here at the bottom. I don't want too much space, but I want to have, I want it to be, this is probably, if I'm looking at it, about 1.5 inches up from the bottom of the, yeah, about 1.5 inches from the bottom of this piece of paper. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in this paper plate. This is a 10-inch paper plate, and I'm going to use this as my guide. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide it down so that I have, again, I need some space at the top there. And so I'm going to just slide this down and I'm going to see if I'm even, just try and keep balance. And I have an old journaling pen. This is a 0.3 journaling pen. And I'm going to just use this to create that circle. So I'm going to just try and come just around like this. Try and get a clean line like that. And then I'm going to shift this paper plate a little bit. I'm going to shift it a little to the right and a little bit up. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to draw another circle, or a half circle, I should say. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the left-hand side here. I'm going to shift it, and I'm going to do a little bit up and a little bit over. And what I'm just trying to get is I'm just trying to get an interesting pattern of these circles, that they're overlapping each other. And I might do another one like this. I'm just taking a look. I have a big space right there and I want to create a little bit more crossover. So we're going to do that. See how that looks. And I think I need a little bit more here. One more here. This might be the last one. I don't want too much, but I want enough of interest. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it at that. And then what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do some dry run of my pieces and see if I need to add any more circles. So I've got a few bits of the cloud paper. I have my pictures here that I'm matting on top of honey butter. And I'm going to just do some dry fitting. And then bring that over a little bit because I want to put these pieces in here like that, like that. And then we can lay out again some pieces. Now, I'm not going to worry that I have some space here with where the where I've moved this piece down a little bit, because I'm going to be able to cover that with my die cuts. So doesn't worry me so much, but really what I'm just trying to do is just make sure that I can get or have a feeling of these pieces being able to, and again, I'm not looking at my picture that I took right now. I could just go back to my picture and just see where things were, but I'm just doing a couple of different layouts here. And we need one over there. Looking for balance as well. All right. And again, you can have some of these overlap each other if you like. Let's see, I like that better. Let's move this guy. The fun thing about this is you can just play, right? You don't have to worry too much about perfection here because, again, it's not, oh, that works really well. That flower works really well there. It's just a matter of placement and where you like it. And you're looking for things to be at various different sizes and at various different spots within this. And I still haven't brought in my title yet, so I need to account for that as well. So right now, that's looking pretty good. I'm okay with the circles. If I wish maybe they were a little bit closer together, but I think that they're okay. And that was my first step. Now that I have those circles on, I can decide, do I need any other type of things happening in the background? And now that my circles are there, my initial thought was that maybe I needed a little bit more. I'm not sure that I do. I go ahead and start inking up my pieces for my title. And again, I'm using the Irresistibles alphabet set. Last time I checked, these were still available. And what I'm doing is I'm using our masking tape to mask off the letters that I want to ink up. And I'm going to use Glacier again in this case, and I'm going to my title, I believe I want it to say springtime. So nice thing again about my all-purpose mat is I can pull off these stickers and put them on the all-purpose mat, and I can then see how I can arrange that on the layout. So I'm going to just take off these pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and do another letter. So I'm going to go ahead and come here to the S, and I'm going to mask this off because I don't want the S to be, I don't want the color to overflow onto the other letters. I really want just the S. And so by masking that off, I can make sure that I don't put ink where I don't want it. So again, I'm just using a standard blending brush, and I'm going to just come in lightly to start because I want to build the layers. If you come in too hard or with too much ink, you can't take it away. And so it's better to build up the layers than it is to start off heavy and then have to compensate. And the Irresistibles, again, are designed, they've got a pattern on them. This one's the dot pattern, which I thought went well with these papers. This dot pattern, there's also a striped pattern, but I thought this went really well with those papers, and I'm liking that. I think that's enough of the color, and hopefully you can see that popping with the dots being resisting the ink that I'm putting on, which is why they're called Irresistibles. So I just need to do all the other letters, and then I can start dry fitting those letters as well onto my layout with the other die cuts that I've created. All right, so I got the Irresistibles inked up, and I realized when I started pulling the stickers up that I felt like the title having springtime be all the Irresistibles was going to be too big. The letters are quite large. In fact, I would guess if I just looked, or not guessed, I can measure these. They are like 1.5 inches tall. And so they're quite large when you lay them out. And I'm laying them out again on my all-purpose mat so that I can pick them up and move them around. So what I decided to do is go look in my stash and see what other options I had. I looked at my stamp sets, my alphabet stamp sets, and I didn't really think size-wise or style-wise the ones I had would really work. And so then I went into my other stash and I found the black alphabet die cuts. I also had them in wood grain, and I thought, okay, I could do wood grain and also ink those up. But I actually think I like the black because it stands out against the glacier ink, and it also ties into the black lines that I created on the page. So now that I've kind of laid this out, what I needed to figure out was where was I going to put it? And when I started laying it out, I started laying it out down here in the bottom. That was my initial thought of where I would put it. But the letters are competing with the words. And I didn't think about that. And I don't want to necessarily cover up the words by creating a banner or putting them on something. So I do have this fairly large space up here at the top because I have a 4x4 photo here. And so after I laid this out like this, I kind of came in and sized it, and I think that space will work. It will be a little bit tight, but I think it will work. So the next step that I need to do is I need to get these pieces adhered down so that I have them in their spots so I can tuck in all those other pieces that we had around here. So I'm going to start with this piece. And I am going to go ahead and I'm going to go around the bottom edge of this piece that I've already created. I am not going to do the top edge because I'm going to be putting my photos there, and I need to be able to slide in my photos when I am actually done with this layout and I have photos to put on it. So again, I'm going to make sure that hopefully my page is semi-straight. I'm going to add this. I'm actually coming down a little bit lower. You can actually see I have a little, I don't know what happened there. Something got on there, so we're going to have to hide that. But I'm going to just make sure that I kind of have this evenly spaced. I am coming down a little bit farther just so that I can make sure that I've got space for that springtime. And I'm going to gently put that down. I'm going to put on my picture placeholders, and again sliding that in underneath that piece. And this one I'm going to keep fairly straight, and I don't want to go too far down. I do want to go down a little bit, but I don't want to go too far down because I don't necessarily want to cut off whatever photo I put in there. And then I'm not putting any adhesive on this right side because I'm going to overlap these photos a little bit, and I want to make sure that I can slide again my photo in when I get that photo. So I'm going to just, you notice I'm not really pushing anything down, and that's on purpose because again, I want to slide in these pieces here for placement purposes. And we're going to play with that a little bit. I want these clouds to kind of be peeking out, but not too much here. And I'm going to put this guy here, and I'm not adhering these down. At this point, I'll come back and do that after I've gotten my other pieces, my title on, I should say. So again, I'm just playing around a little bit with that angle. I feel like I'm down just a little too far there. Kind of need to get this situated before I can put that title on. Normally I wouldn't necessarily do the title first, but in this case, I really need that placement to make this work. All right, I think I'm happy with that. All right, so now we're going to come in, and I'm actually going to start with the G. And I'm going to be pretty close to the edge here and towards the top. And then the N, trying to keep it tight spacing wise, like that. Trying to keep it even, keep the bottoms even as well. And we're going to just see if we can make this all work out. And we might have to move this piece a little bit to the left here. Okay. So I don't think I can get these any tighter together per se. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit more shifting down. So again, because I didn't put too much adhesive on this, and I didn't tack it down too hard, I can kind of come out at an angle, and I can come down just a hair more on this, and I can bring those pictures down a little bit more. Again, that's the advantage of not pressing too hard here, is we can make just some of these small adjustments and see if that will work. And I think that works just fine, just like that. And then we'll take this guy, put my hand down, and bring it down just a hair, not too much, just a hair. Sometimes this is the hardest part, right? Just futzing around a bit with all these pieces. Making sure you like your overlaps, like that. Okay, I feel like we're a little bit leaning a little bit like that, so I think we're going to create an angle here. A little bit more of an angle here. Like so. Just, I'm playing around with this one piece. I want to keep it, but I'm not liking its location. I'm not liking how it looks. So I'm thinking I might have to not use it. So we're gonna have to see here, because we need to get the rest of this title on as well from a placement perspective. So and I need to glue that, so now let's see how that works. I don't know if one of these is bigger than the other. I think these two pieces are the same size. Yeah, they are. Okay, it may be that we don't use that piece at all. Or I might do like that. Okay, I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm pretty happy overall with the placement of the title. So I'm going to commit to that. And we're going to add, let's I'm going to go ahead and just do the tape runner on these letters. Like that. And I'm going to speed this up so that you don't necessarily have to watch me do all of this. So while I put all this together, we'll add some of the other pieces here in a minute. I have my title now on the layout, and I have done a dry run again of the various pieces that are going to go around this circle. If you remember earlier, I was trying to use this cloud paper underneath the photos here, and they just were not working out. As much as I wanted to use this, I couldn't make them work. So what I decided to do was go back to the stamp set for in springtime. So the in springtime stamp set, there was a cloud stamp and a cloud thin cut. And so what I decided to do was try out that to see how that would work. And I'm much happier with the clouds. Now, I did stamp a cloud, and I did these in glacier. So again, pulling in the glacier from the other areas. I did do it in glacier, and then I stamped it. I stamped the cloud in sapphire. But when I put it here, I didn't like the way it looked. I felt like it was competing with the lines a little bit too much for me. And so I decided that I wasn't going to do it stamped. I was just going to leave it as a thin cut. The other thing that I did is I did cut these in half because I was going to slide them underneath these pieces. And so I've cut this one and this one and this one. So essentially I have two full clouds, and then I have two clouds that I've cut apart. The last thing that I did when I laid all this out and looked at it is I had initially done the watering can and on White Daisy and stamped it. And then I decided, I was going to color it in. I didn't want to add silver or gray to this because there's really no gray or silvers here. And so I thought I would use some pens. I'd use the tri-blend markers, and this was the magenta one, I believe. And this was the coral blend. Yeah, this was magenta blend, and this is coral blend. And when I laid it down, it just was a little bit too... It just didn't match because I had die cut out of our cardstock all these other pieces, and so I had these colors that were solid, and I stamped on top of them, and these pieces just sort of stood out as not working. So then I went ahead and did the die cut again of the watering can, and I did it in the limeade and in the glacier. And again, I just laid it out, and I felt like I had too much limeade kind of on this bottom half, or green with the jade on this bottom half between the frogs and things. So I ended up deciding to go with the glacier of the watering can, and again, this is stamped in sapphire. And then the last thing I did is I had some of the flowers that were cut out of the patterned paper. And again, I felt like they were getting lost on the page. So I went ahead and I just took, again, the decorative, what are we calling it? Decorative shapes, thin cut. I took the small flower and I just went ahead and die cut a few extra out of flamingo. So that is this is now, I'm really happy with this. I'm going to take a picture of it, and then I'm going to go ahead and adhere all of this down. And then there's one more step that we're going to do. This is an 11 by 11 piece. We're going to go ahead and double mat it. And I will show you that last step and where we're going to add our journaling. So I finished doing all the adhering, and on all of the little pieces around the circle here, I have used thin 3D foam tape. So I've used the thinner of our two foam tapes because I didn't want too much dimension. There was a lot going on already with this layout. And so I thought the thin 3D foam tape would just give it a little bit of lift, but not too much that it would be too bulky or not look right. So anyway, all of this is adhered down. So the next step is we need to adhere our frames that are going to go around it. And this is going to be a double framed layout. So the first frame is this jade frame, and this frame is 11 and a quarter by 11 and a quarter. Yeah, 11 and a quarter, 11 and a quarter. And I've gutted out the middle of that because, again, by doing that, you create less bulk on your layout, and you can use this for something else because it's going to be hidden anyway under the piece that we created. So we're going to go ahead and adhere this down before we move along any further. So I'm just going to put some adhesive right towards the edge of the frame so that I can lay my piece down really quickly here. And we're going to go ahead and lay it on our Versamat so that it is straight, so we can try and get a very straight, thin edge of this jade paper. And that looks pretty good. All right, so then we're going to go ahead and just press that down because I'm happy with that placement. All right, so the second frame is just a full 12 by 12 frame, but again, I've gutted out the middle because this is a very pretty pattern paper, and I want to be able to use that pattern paper somewhere else. I don't want it hidden underneath this. But this layout doesn't really lend itself for any sort of journaling that you might want to do on it. And again, you don't have to journal. Maybe the pictures speak for themselves and then you don't need to journal. But I did want to at least create an opportunity for journaling if I needed it. And so what I decided I would do is take a look at this, and I created a tag using the old tags and thin cuts. I'm sure everyone has a tag in their stash that they could use, and any size, it really doesn't matter. And then I cut this out of limeade, and I was playing around with locations. So I thought, okay, I could do it here on the right, but then I thought, well, it depends on how it goes in the album. Would that really work? So I decided that I would end up putting it up here at the top, just like that. And in order for it to slide in and out, again, you need to be able to get in and pull it out. We need to do some foam tape around this to lift it up, to give it some space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my tag kind of where I think I want it on the layout. And actually, we're going to go ahead and flip this over again, and we're going to place it a little bit more strategically here, and just making sure that I kind of have my layout even, getting an even reveal again on this frame. And then I can put my tag there, and I think that looks good right about there. So we're going to just flip this over, trying not to move that tag too much. Get it straight, and then we're going to take our thin 3D foam tape again. because I don't think we need much more than that. I don't think we need to have it be too thick. So I'm getting the narrow 3D foam tape. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a bit of a guide for this tag to slide into. So I'm going to go ahead and just roll this down here, trim that up, and we're going to come across this way and come up the other side. And then we're going to just make sure that we've got this placed well. And we're going to come across this way up to that edge. And I don't want it too tight. I want to have a little bit of movement there. So I want to make sure that I've got some space. And then I am going to put a stopper here. And we're just going to slide that up just a smidge. And we're going to put a stopper. I'm going to just double check that where that placement is, so I can put that stopper in the right spot. We're going to just bring that up there. That looks good. Flip it over. Straighten it out. Try not to move it too much with your sticky fingers. And I'm going to put a stopper. I'm going to put a stopper right about there. Again, I'm just trying to create a guide so that it doesn't fall down on the layout. And then I'm going to, again, create a stopper on the left side of this as well, like that. Okay, and then I am going to run a little bit more adhesive here at the edge, just because I want it to be secure when it's down. It's not that it's not going to be secure. I shouldn't say that. I just want it to not collapse on itself, I think is a better way to describe it. So yes, I am using a lot of foam tape on this, but I think at the end it's going to be, it's going to hold up the best. So I did run out right there. We'll see if we can get it off of its carrier. Good. Okay, perfect. So this is how I use that last little bit, is I tear it off essentially of its carrier, and then I apply adhesive to the back where it was attached to the carrier. And I'm probably going to need this whole piece, so I'll go ahead and just put adhesive down this whole strip, and then we can add it here, and that was the perfect amount right there. Okay, so now that I've done that, I can take this piece out, just make sure everything is adhered down, and we're going to go ahead and take this off and adhere it to the back, the last piece of the frame. And then we will have our completed layout. So I want to again thank Lori for this idea. I really had fun kind of recreating with these stamp sets and using the Gnomes for Spring as the base. I made a few changes, obviously. I didn't use the same stamps that she used. I changed up the papers a bit, but the same concept was essentially what she had put together. And I think it's a really fun little spring layout that is really going to highlight some of those spring pictures that you might have. All right, this is where you got to be careful, because that's a lot of foam tape and I got it stuck down there, so I got to be really careful here. I'm hoping I don't tear this paper. Flip it open. Ahaha, I see a problem now that I've got it flipped over, that I'm going to have extra foam tapes showing. I needed to be more on the edge. So I'm trying to be gentle here, but I might not be able to fix this the way I want to fix it. All right, so I had to do a little bit of surgery to try and get this working, because I didn't pay attention to the fact that my frame had a hole in it. So what I did is I was able to get the frame off for the most part. So the frame did come off, and a few pieces of the foam tape did stick to the frame better than it stuck to the back of the green or the jade frame. So I went ahead and just left that attached as best as I could, just trying to make sure that I wasn't damaging too much of the patterned paper. I took off the extra foam tape. And again, this doesn't matter because it's going to get covered up for the most part, and it's the back of the layout anyway. And then on the piece that's going to hold our tag, I went ahead and I just reapplied the backer pieces that I pulled off of the foam tape and reapplied those to that piece. So now that we've got that, we are going to do our best here. And I think we are missing one piece of foam tape. And I'm going to try and salvage some of what we had, what I pulled off. So I'm going to take a piece here and we're going to lay it actually on the frame, the bottom frame here. And I think we just need a little bit more. So find another piece here that we can use. So again, this is just showing you that everything is fixable, right? There isn't anything that you can't fix. You just have to possibly play around with it. So now I'm going to try and be a little bit more strategic. And again, I'm just looking at where I've got my adhesive pieces and where I don't. So I think I need to go like this. I didn't need those. If I do it like that, I don't need these two pieces because I already have a piece on that side. So we'll go ahead and lift those guys up again, just being gentle with it because I didn't push them down that hard. We'll put those aside. And we're going to try to align this the first time we put it down. And just making sure that I've got that all lined up. That all looks good. Okay, so hopefully I am fairly even on this. And it's not perfect, but I think we're gonna just not mess around with it anymore. The fact that I was able to recover enough of that, I'm pretty happy with. So I'm just gonna turn this over and take a look. It looks like we've got some adhesive showing here, so we may have to cover that up. So again, I'm gonna just take one of the backer strips again, and we're gonna just go ahead and add that here so that when we slide it into our page protector, we don't have anything that's going to stick to our page protector. So just seeing how far we have to go here. And I may come up with a separate solution. I may end up putting a back on this of just white daisy to compensate for the fact of that mess up. I may just cut a piece that's smaller or do a 12 by 12 just to make this a little bit more sturdy. So, but again, the idea is that we have our tag that we can slide in there, and I will probably want to add a ribbon to that. And I'm just seeing if I have any handy ribbon, but I don't. So again, a ribbon might look nice or something so that you can pull this out easily. But again, it's got a stopper on it, so it's not gonna go anywhere. All right. Well, that is my one-page layout with the Gnomes from Spring, combination with the decorative die cuts and the in springtime stamp set. So again, these are the sets that I used in springtime, decorative die cuts, and then I used a tag die cut as well. Don't forget that I think the irresistible letters might still be available on the website too. So that's another thing that's potentially still available out there. But things are moving fast on the website, and I don't expect things to stay in stock very much longer, as they're heading into the middle part of April. Things are going to start going on sale, and I think things are going to start moving a lot faster. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed it, got a couple of ideas, and I will see you on the next video. Have a great one. Bye.